Hey everyone, it's Alex, and today we're talking about the deck that I took to the finals of Twitch Rivals Legion the Conqueror. Now, this is a deck of my design, and it's a deck that I think is an immensely powerful competitive list, one that I think that is overall being slept on because of its ability to predictably play around your opponent's plays. The mind games elements that you can play in both a tournament or in a conquest-based match with Kang and Legion are significant. The straight-up power slam of She-Hulk and Infinite is insane. It goes more vertical than most lists. It has the tech you need for the current meta in Armor and Cosmo. You can use Moon Girl to replicate your She-Hulks for even more outstanding power on turn 6 or 7. And honestly, it's just a fantastic list that I have full confidence in. It does have some counters, and primarily it's a Legion that can get rid of your Limbo, right? Legion's the biggest counter to this deck, ironically, and you actually run Legion in it to counter the Legion. So if you're against a player who's playing Legion, you want to get initiative so that you can actually play Legion on top of your own Limbo and then replicate the Limbos across the board to guarantee your turn 6 or 7. However, what I will say is I'm going to talk you through this deck, and then we're going to do something a little different today, actually. I'm going to be taking you through the Twitch Rivals and giving some commentary on how the game was played to showcase how the deck functions and what decisions I was making, why, and how I was able to use the mechanics of this deck to juke out my opponents to get to the finals. So I think it's going to be a really interesting video, and I hope you enjoy it. But let's talk about the cards themselves and give you an idea of why these cards are in there. So first of all, Sunspot is part of the core. So there's a core set of cards here that have to be in this deck for it to function the way it's intended. The first is going to be Sunspot. The reason why Sunspot functionally works in this deck is because every time you skip a turn, which is going to be usually turn 6, you're gaining that 6 additional power, right? It runs up on the Sunspot. You need the armor because with Sunspot being vulnerable to Killmonger, which is one of the most popular cards in the game, you need to place Sunspot and armor in conjunction with one another to ensure that the card does not get destroyed. That's critically important. You also have magic, which is critically important because moving, first of all, location correction is helpful, but more importantly, getting a guaranteed turn 7, or not, I should not say guaranteed, it's just a turn 7. We'll talk about how you try and guarantee it in a minute, but if you get turn 7, you're able to skip turn 6, and that allows you to play Infinite and She-Hulk together because the Infinite will be 6 power, and She-Hulk will be free. That's very important to note. Now, what I will say about Nebula, however, Nebula is not a core component of this list, but it is a very good card from a control perspective because the way you use Nebula, it's a mind game. I love the mind games of this deck. Now, Nebula, you usually put in a location that you might not necessarily need to win. That sounds crazy, Alex. Well, Nebula can get huge, and that's great. And if you're in a position where you think that you can run up the Nebula, then run it up. But what Nebula does is it forces and encourages your opponent to play into a location. That might make them overcommit to a specific spot that then gets punished on the turn 7 of Infinite She-Hulk. It's very unlikely they'll compete with an Infinite lane, and She-Hulk can often take another lane. While they've been committing resources to the Nebula, they've left those other 2 lanes open for attack on your turn 7 with She-Hulk and Infinite. That's why I tend to lean towards using Nebula. Now, it's not a core component of the deck. It can be replaced. However, I do like that element where you play the Nebula, and as they feed into it, you're thinking in your head, yeah, you put cards there. Don't put cards in the other 2 lanes that I'm going to attack on turn 7. Put them there. That's fine. You need 2 locations to win a game of Marvel Snap, my friends. Now, the other card that I think is extremely important here is Cosmo. The reason why Cosmo is important is because it counters the current meta, but most importantly, you can play Cosmo on top of the limboed location to prevent any Scarlet Witch shenanigans from happening, or, Storm, for instance, if you're against the Silver Surfer deck. That does not protect against Legion, which is critically important because Legion gets played anywhere else except Limbo by your opponent, right? Now, with regards to substitutions, which I know is going to be a common question, right? If you don't have Nebula, for instance, I do think that Iceman is an appropriate change. The reason why Iceman works well in this list is because in the current meta, a lot of combo-centric decks are being played, and Iceman's ability to really disrupt those decks, I think, is huge. Iceman, you might not feel its impact, but its impact is extremely notable, and so Iceman is a good choice. If you don't have Spider-Ham or Jeff, now the reason why Jeff's in the deck is because he's just one of the best 2-drops in the game. It allows you to counteract control players. It allows you to basically reach into locations that you might not be able to reach, and obviously the 3-power moving to the She-Hulk based location, right, can help you solidify a lane. I often treat She-Hulk and Jeff as one card, where I play I consider this 12 power, move the Jeff, slam the She-Hulk type thing, and then you have the 20 of the Infinite in the other location. I would lean towards, if you want energy or power, I should say, I like Silk in this spot. Silk is just straight up a 2/5, and it can mess you up sometimes, but it still has that mobility. It allows you to kind of just put straight up power on the board, which is how you win games. But a more simplistic and straightforward answer would maybe be Scorpion. The reason for Scorpion is because Scorpion is going to lower their overall power gamut, which allows you to attack it more effectively with your Shinnot your Shinnot based combo on turn 6. Now, if you don't have Legion or Kang, which is the big one, right? Legion or Kang, the replacement for those are going to be it's going to be Leech. And the reason for this is because Leech allows you to disrupt their hand on turn 6, which prevents them from playing a Scarlet Witch or Storm or whatever on turn 6, or even a Reality Stone to disrupt the location of Limbo, which is key. You want to guarantee your turn 6, which is why we have Kang the Conqueror. Now, in this deck, this might be the most spiciest choice that I've made. I'm one of the only players playing Kang the Conqueror. No one plays Kang, and I think that it is a critically important thing to understand why Kang is in this deck. And in the Twitch Rivals commentary we're going to be doing shortly, you're going to see how I literally won games simply because of Kang the Conqueror. And this card was by far the MVP of this deck. It wasn't Infant, it wasn't She-Hulk, it was Kang. And I said it on the Snapchat, and I'll say it again. I think this card is being slept on competitively. So essentially, the reason why Kang works and functions in this deck is because critically important to this deck is Limbo. If you cannot protect Limbo, you cannot win the game. That's kind of how this deck works. This location has to be protected. So what if you're in a situation where you have not had a chance to play Legion on your Limbo and replicate it across, right? What if you don't have Cosmo sitting on Limbo? What if they have a Legion themselves? What you're able to do is, when you're in a situation where you want to skip turn 6, right? And you cannot confidently do so because, well, Limbo might be vulnerable. You're able to use Kang to determine, okay, do I have to slam my points now or do I get my turn 7? You can play Kang on turn 6 and say, oh, look at that, they did play their Scarlet Witch, or hey, look at that, they did play their Reality Stone. I need to play this turn differently. However, if they don't have their pieces, if they didn't draw their Legion, or if Limbo ultimately you feel is safe, you are then capable of skipping that turn with more confidence, right? It's also notable that players you're playing against in Conquest will not know you have Kang until you reveal it. Therefore, your Kang snaps are basically free. I had players, these are pro players I'm playing against, because no one plays Kang, I was snapping on them with a Kang snap, and they would retreat scared, knowing the power I was capable of putting out with Shinnot, but they didn't realize it was a Kang snap. And sometimes I was actually at a disadvantaged position, snapping with a Kang snap and still winning those 2 cubes, which you take in a competitive scenario. So that's why Kang is in this deck. So I wanted to give an explanation as to how this deck functions, because I do think it's critically important that when you pilot a deck with this much nuance, that you kind of understand why each individual card is there, because each card is there for a reason, right? And specifically Spider-Ham, like Spider-Ham's an absolute beauty for just disrupting Conquest plays, right? There was a game I won just because I had Spider-Hammed a very specific card in my opponent's deck that they just retreated because they know, like, oh, Spider-Ham hit my piece, I'm out. Like, I can't compete now. So I do think that for Conquest and competitive based lists, Spider-Ham, Kang, these are absolute godsend cards that are being slept on as a whole. Regardless, guys, we're going to be going into the Twitch Rivals kind of gameplay commentary I'm doing. This is something new. I hope you guys enjoy this type of video, and well, wait, let's get into it. All right, so let's get started here with what was the spotlight segment that they did during Twitch Rivals here. So they want to discuss a specific play I made, and I think it showcases how powerful the deck can be. Let's actually just give it a quick listen.
Let's go ahead and take a look at one of the top plays of the day. This is going to be phenomenal. D-Money, I'm going to need your help to break all of this down for us right now. Alexander went absolutely crazy.
So to set up the board here, so I'm against Dara. This is during the round robin. And what you're looking at is a situation where we're actually down on all 3 locations, right? So a lot of players would get really nervous in this situation. You're against a Silver Surfer, Brood, and Sinister deck. Like, this is becoming more and more meta. We talked about it on the meta report. And this is like a very damning position. Like, what do? Most players would retreat here. We're at a tournament. We're going for 8 cubes. But this deck can put up so much incredible power, right? The verticality of Infinite and She-Hulk cannot be understated. So let's take a quick look at what actually happens.
Yeah, so it looks like it is, this is for 8 cubes right here. And Alex is behind on every single location. And we're on turn 7, and he skipped last turn. So now he has the She-Hulk plus the Infinite possibility. So much power coming down on this final turn. Nova not being able to be destroyed on the left side. I'm expecting a Silver Surfer coming out here. And looks like he's playing against Dara. This is so much power.
So the key thing to understand here is that I have to outpace a full combination of Silver Surfer and Patriot with a number of different kind of buffable components on the board for Dara here. And again, we're losing 3 locations, as D-Money had mentioned, so we have to reach high.
And I think that Infinite is going to end up being enough. Man, it's going to come right down to the wire. She-Hulk just going to surpass the left side. I'm sure he accounted for the Surfer. Infinite taking down the middle location. Whew. You can see it on Alex. Alex has been awake for more than 24 hours.
The key learning here to take from this is that you're really never out of games if you're able to effectively skip turn 6. Now, in this particular game, we don't even have a sunspot, right? That's key here. And what it showcases is simply how much power the She-Hulk and the Infinite can actually output. And now, because of the deck building considerations in this particular tournament, at this particular stage of the tournament, I should say, we actually didn't even have our full list. We were running a bit of a different list here. That's why you see the Korg, the Okoye, the Rock Slide, and stuff along those lines. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the core is Magic, She-Hulk, and Infinite. When you have those combinations and you're able to effectively play into turn 7, you can throw up insane points like this. Okay, so at this stage of the tournament, Jeff and I are in an absolutely fantastic match here, and what I want to showcase here is how you can utilize Kang. Now, Jeff is expecting me to play Kang. He knows I have Kang, and this is actually just after he played my own Kang. He used Mirage to copy my Kang, so he knows I hold it. And so when that happens, sometimes players want to play suboptimally. They know that Kang's coming, and they're like, I want to mitigate the Kang effect, I want to hide my real play, or just the idea that a Kang effect might be happening can essentially throw off their ability to play. So let's listen into the announcers and see what happens, because they're expecting me to play Kang and I'm expecting that as well.
Do we get a Kang now from Alexander Coccia?
We very well could see it. Yeah, this is a really okay.
Yeah, he snapped.
But now he could actually juke him out and not play it, and he could just go for the win.
That's exactly correct. What D-Money just said is absolutely correct. I don't have to play Kang. If I don't play Kang, I can attack in the way I want and potentially take my opponent by surprise.
Yeah, that's why, like, Jeff obviously wants to make a suboptimal play without revealing the true strategy. But if there's no Kang here, he's just made a bad play on the last turn of the game.
Think about the mind game. There's so many mind games that happen with Kang, especially when both players have a Kang. And now, like I said, Alex doesn't have to play it.
Oh my God, these guys are just trying to one-up each other. It's not 4D chess, it's 5D underwater mahjong being played between these players. Here we go.
Oh my gosh. I think he went for it. I think Alex just juked him out for 4 cubes here. Did he play it in the right set of locations, though? She-Hulk mid, Infinite on the right side to take it. Wow.
So that does take the win simply because, again, I didn't have to use Kang. I didn't use Kang. I attacked the board state.
Absolutely fuming. Losing 4 cubes there. As Alexander Coccia says, I know that you know that I have a Kang.
So that's exactly it, right? Like, I know this is kind of funny listening to the commentary and myself talking and stuff like that. I think it's going to be a fun video, but yeah, it's exactly that. Like, yeah, I know you know I have Kang. But if I don't play Kang, it's as much as a mind game as playing Kang. And I think that when you're in these long matches, especially in Conquest and whatnot, or in a tournament, for example, I think that the opportunity and the ability to withhold Kang intentionally can be just as powerful as playing Kang, right? And the surprise factor it provides. So I thought that was a really fun example of that. Okay, let's show an example of where Kang is immensely powerful. So this again is an example from Jeff and I's game. And again, Jeff's one of the literal best players in the world, a professional card game player. And so he's trying to basically seal me out here. I'm losing 2 locations very handily. This game looks horrible on paper. I'm down in Danger Room by 6 points. I'm down, 12 points in Isle of Silence, and it's Death's Domain. Like, what am I supposed to do? And let's listen into the commentary, because they think I'm done too.
Oh my God.
Surely Alexander's not going to try and play an Infinite. There has to be something else. He must have done the math, realizing he can't just win with 20 points on Isle of Silence. This is beautiful, though, the armor play. Oh,
yeah, this really contests every single lane here.
Alexander knows about the armor. There's no way he's this big brain. Okay, no, it's just going to be play the Infinite down.
Yeah, and I think Jeff has locked this one up. This is for 5 cubes right here. This is going to just win the match.
So sick.
Oh,
Kang! Okay, Jeff has to have known this would happen, but now when he realizes the potential, Alex realizes the potential for Jeff to make this play. The Kang there is massive.
So this is so critically important, right? So basically, I'm done. The announcers think I'm done. Everyone agrees Alex is done. I'm losing. Look at my health. I'm getting knocked out. I'm getting knocked out of this tournament, right? Basically. And Kang comes down, and it's a shock. Even though they know I have Kang, the very fact that Kang can reveal the board state and show me what potential play is coming is huge. And yes, right? Maybe I don't have a play. Maybe I don't have an answer. Maybe defeat is always inevitable. But sometimes, maybe you can subvert expectations.
It really depends on what's in the hand of Alex here. If he only has the infinite route, then maybe you do retreat. Or you just hope that Jeff doesn't go with that same play. Now the mind games are coming into full effect here. Jeff is really rethinking this turn here.
And that's the power of Kang, the mind games. Jeff, again, one of the best players in the world, has to reevaluate how they approach a turn that they pretty much guarantee to win, to see how they can ensure that they can close out a win against someone who now knows what their hand looked like, what their play was, and how they were going to approach that final turn. The mind games are huge. And again, if I'm able to subvert those expectations, perhaps I can sneak out a win. Let's see what happens.
If he does it again, what can Alexander really do to play around it?
That's true. Jeff is really thinking if he wants to remake that same play.
So, like you mentioned the She-Hulk play, right? And that's possible. You play She-Hulk for free, maybe to Danger Room. You flip a coin.
Exactly.
And then you try and play around a potential Armor to Death's Domain.
I mean, then, Sunspot would just grow at that point.
Jeff?
Oh my God. Gonna play both on the left.
He left Isle of Silence?
Gonna come down to Danger Room. Gonna kill Cosmo. Is She-Hulk on that left side?
We're flipping a coin here, big time. Oh no, it's an armor coming down. Alexander can guarantee this card stays alive, and She-Hulk.
Oh wow.
He's gonna snatch it away. You are absolutely out of this world. Jeff down to 1 cube. The Kang gives all the information that Alexander needs.
So, I mean, the reason why I showed that was because it showcases how Kang can make a game that feels completely unwinnable, winnable. Everyone counted me out. I know Jeff thought he definitely had me. The announcers agreed. I was done. My tournament was over. And look what just happened. We completely subverted their expectations, hit them with a play they weren't expecting, and slapped them back for those 4 cubes, stayed in this game, and ultimately go on to the final bracket, right? So it's imperative that you get as much information in Marvel Snap as you can. And Kang is a major factor in that, because with information, you can make magic happen. Alright guys, I know that this was a bit of a different take on the classic deck guide style video. Hope you enjoyed it though. I wanted to showcase some of the epic moments from Twitch Rivals that particularly showcased the the kind of capabilities of the deck and how even Kang can be used to subvert expectations and take your opponents by surprise. I think it's kind of being slept on competitively. So, I did defend it on the Snapchat. I don't know if you guys believe me, but I hope I backed it up ever so slightly during Twitch Rivals with that finals finish. Regardless, thank you so much for supporting my content. Hitting the like button is the best thing you can do. It really does make a world of difference for me and my content. And subscribe if you're not subscribed already. At least consider so. I really do appreciate all your support. And we'll see you on that next Marvel Snap video.